Hi, it's Lethea from Farmview Creators. Let's work on these Raggedy Ann and Andy mini signs. They fit into the beaded frame or the shutter frame. I think they're adorable, and they have a little patriotic theme going on. So I am getting all those pieces on my sticky board and kind of grouping them by what colors I'm planning to paint them. I am putting a coat of Farmhouse linen on that backboard, and then on the next one I am going to use British Gray. I apologize, I did not realize you could not tell the colors. I will fix that later on. And then Queen's Court on the third one, and on that last one I'm going to go back in with a layer of Farmhouse linen, just one coat, before I use Midnight Blue. I have learned that if you want that Midnight Blue to be more bright and vibrant, kind of like a cobalt or sapphire color, you need a base coat of white. And then the more coats of that you put on top of the white with the blue, the darker it's going to be. If you just use Midnight Blue, you're going to end up with a navy color. It is a brighter navy than Abyss or Night Sky, but it's still navy. So getting that second coat on those pieces, and I went ahead and anything that I was planning to paint Midnight Blue, I did a coat of the Farmhouse linen. I try to always do 2 coats, paint with the grain of the wood when possible. And for her little outfit, I am using a sponge and dabbing on the Farmhouse linen so that those words will not get filled up with paint. And here we go with that Midnight Blue. See how beautiful and bright it is? I love it. So I was just making sure that I, evened out my strokes and my brush lines, so that I did not have to do another coat on those pieces. My favorite color is royal blue, so I was on a mission to figure out how to get this to be more of a royal blue. I'm using Queen's Court on the top of that star, and then British Gray on his little suspenders. One letter is Queen's Court, one of them is Farmhouse linen. Going in with Farmhouse linen on all the pieces that I want white. Then I'm going to grab a sponge dauber and again dab up and down very, very lightly for that piece with words so that the score lines don't fill in with paint. And then I just went ahead and used my sponge on the other pieces for the second layer. And now we're going to use pitch black. I love this black. It is just beautiful. It is so rich that you can get away with only one coat. For my red, I am using Barn Door. This is a chalk style paint. Barn Door and Farmhouse linen are the only 2 chalk style paints from Paint Couture that I'm using today. All of the others are acrylic mineral paints. The acrylic mineral have a built-in top coat. The chalk style do not. They go on a little thinner. They're great for distressing, and I think I really like the chalk style in the Barn Door better than the acrylic mineral. I feel like with the acrylic mineral I have to do more layers with the red to get it even and smoothed out, but with that chalk style I don't. I can just do 2 layers. I'm gonna do 2 layers on everything with that Barn Door, and then going in with French Rose for their faces. This is a very, very, very pale pink. Whenever I paint it, no matter whether I have my camera right or not, it always looks white. But in person, you can tell that it has a pink hue. And then I'm using an essential stenciling brush to kind of apply some cheeks with Vera at the Ballet. My yellow is my favorite yellow, Spanish Sunrise. 2 coats of that on everything. And then for the buttons, I'm going to use Van Dyke brown. But first, let's get some eyeballs on these guys. And for those eyeballs, I just used the end of my paintbrush. And then for the Van Dyke brown, again, just used a sponge to apply that. For my dots, I like to do trios of dots. I am using Farmhouse linen again. I thought I had enough on my sponge to get through my dots, but I did not. I love doing dot trios, so I'm just going to randomly kind of go around, and any piece that I think they'll look good on, I am adding those dots before I go in with my Debi's DIY Dark Wax. Now, I did allow my dots to dry really well before I went in with my wax. Going in and distressing each of the pieces, this just gives it more dimension when you layer them on top of each other, and gives it more of that rustic look, I guess. Of course, I'm going to use my dead flat top coat. Takes away all the shine and gives the pieces protection. That acrylic mineral already has a built-in top coat, so if I didn't mind the little sheen that is there for those, I could have not put a top coat on them, just done it on top of the chalk style paints. But I like my pieces to be matte, very matte, flat. I'm going to use just a tiny little piece of jute on that largest button to make a little bow tie, and I will cut it after I see how it looks on the piece. To adhere my pieces, I am using art glitter glue. I love this glue. It dries clear. It gives you some wiggle room so you can move things around if you need to, even after you have put the pieces down, which I did here. I had to wiggle that star around a little bit to get it right, and then just fixing that bow like I wanted and getting that crow on there. I think it's so cute. I love that star. And then working on and getting her all pieced together. And then I almost forgot her star, and I did forget the button on the star, but I caught it. And now for Andy, getting him all layered up with his cute little outfit. That barn red is just such a beautiful red. And I almost forgot his suspenders, but there they are. They're in British gray to tie in the background of Anne's piece. And then putting together that cute little barn quilt. I love barn quilts. And I did have to slide those around, especially that first piece that I put down, to get them lined up properly. And then the hearts, you can still see the score lines on all of these pieces, even after you paint them. Sometimes you just have to wiggle them around. And there they are. They are so cute. I love them in my shutter frame. I'm so glad you were here to watch. Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.